The SP 500 and the Nasdaq 100, when you talk about exactly what happened on the day, we had a little bit of a drop, and there was a key signal that sets you up for all your trades on the day. And I usually kind of waste some time, get through a few things, but I want to talk about that first before we even get into anything else. Right here, your flip of your 200 MA. This is a 5-minute chart, so it's going to show you a lot of information on the intraday chart. But if we look here, this is also what I use for pretty much all my scalping. But you can see coming into market open, 8 o'clock, 8:30 opens up. We have a little bit of a push. We drop, we flip, we reject, and push down. Now, if you've been watching any of my videos on ES, specifically the S&P futures, I believe the 200 MA is everything. If you remain above it, you are bullish. If you remain below it, you are bearish. Food for thought and giving you a better visual here, just going into the daily time frame to show you how important this really is. And again, I'm just going to bring this level up for you really quick and ignore the volume down there. It's really ugly. But you can see you've been below this level since essentially all the way back to April 8th of 2022. You can see we pushed below, rejected, pushed down, came back, rejected, rejected, rejected. And then we recently had that break, mount holding above, hold again, and then we broke through to the downside today. So we're gonna talk about at least what's happening here, things we need to be paying attention to while we've been here, and some of the kind of key signals you need to be taken from this. Now, I do wanna highlight, going into this video, I was bullish, I was looking for upside. But what did I continue to say? I said a few things. Every day I am liquid, right? Into the trading day, I'm liquid. What does that mean? I'm exiting most of my positions, if not all of them, to the end of the day. So in the past 4 days, honestly, I've been out of everything. Now, going even further than that, I said if you break below the 200 MA, what happens? You have to flip your thesis, okay? So that's the important part here. Before I go any further, I want everyone to understand that. Also worth mentioning, you're still sitting in this overall trend that you kind of have here on ES, holding these higher lows, still making this on the daily. That is worth mentioning. We're going to get into a lot of this here in a second. Before we go any further, I have to ask you to consider doing two things: liking and subscribing. Every single day I post videos so you are prepared and you know what to expect on the market. Again, I'll tell you what I'm looking forward to, but I'm going to give you the key things you need to know every single day as far as news, what's happening with charts, and everything in between. That's the most important part here, so I appreciate if you consider liking and subscribing. It's also worth mentioning right now we're also doing a very big giveaway. It's on Twitter. The link is down below. Right now, if you like and retweet, we're actually going to give a 1-year membership to Discord away completely free, and you'll get $100 cash. I'll just send that to you, probably either Cash App, PayPal, something like that. Anyways, then winner will be announced on December 20th, the day before we start to do the big option drops Discord giveaway. So everyone in Discord, we're going to be giving away, I think, 2 $300 34-inch monitors or 32-inch, and then we're going to be giving away some cash on Amazon also for the holidays. Anyways, going back to the video, let's get into this. So when we look at this, what are we looking at? And again, I know people are going to be commenting, well, Tyler, you said we were bullish, we're this, we're that. And I also got to go really quick back to Twitter to show you guys, I post so much of my stuff here on Twitter. 5 hours ago, you can actually see a timestamp, 9:36, an hour into market open. Walmart looking top heavy. Keep an eye on this one. Costco earnings on Thursday could cause headwinds with the XLP sector due to some bad news last week on Costco. And we also had a double top kind of on XLP, roughly trying to form out there, right? What happened since then? Again, I posted this in Discord, but I also posted it for free for you. Made about $800 on this trade alone. That's it. Only trade I took on the day. I like to be transparent. I've shown you my loser. I showed my loser last week, but I like to show winners and losers so you can understand risk to reward and the difference going on there. Now, getting back into the S&P, I'm going to go to something like the 1 hour to show you where we're at now. What I want to highlight here specifically, let's just talk about this. So since you got that big push from Powell talking last Wednesday, right? We pushed straight up to around, almost 4,100. Now, what are some points we've been talking about here? If we zoom out to the 4 hour, let's just show key areas. What did we see? We had a target of 4,100. We hit it. Guess what happened? You trended sideways, tried to get a little bit of a flag going on, but at the end of the day, you pushed back below the 200 moving average, right? And again, on the ES specifically, that's got to be your target. If you hold below it, you're bearish, you expect downside. If you hold above it, you expect upside. That's the biggest thing going back and forth right now. And I can't say it enough, because if you look at the data, you look at what's happened, that's all you really need to be tracking in the short term to get a visual on what's happening. Also want to mention, again, I'm going a lot back and forth here. Every week I'm doing on Sunday nights a big outlook of the market for the next 2 to 3 months. Last week I did the Black Swan video going over oil prices. This week, the Russia bloodbath. Again, we're starting to see this kind of take steps into fruition, and this is the only way that I see a lot of downside occurring on the market. So I recommend watching that if you're looking at a long-term visual. Now, if you're watching my daily videos Monday through Friday, these are going to be quick updates into stocks I'm looking at and how I'm looking at the next day going forward, okay? And then I recommend following on Twitter also. But when we're looking at this, I want to be very clear that sometimes you may take this as inevitably bullish, right? Or no matter what, I'm bullish. Someone said permeable. And I just want to make it sure it's really clear out there that I'm going over that part of it. But I can't cover the same things every single day. And I'm not going to make, long dated videos every single day. That doesn't make sense. So I want to make sure everyone's being fed here and that they're understanding what we're looking at. So what are we looking at right now? Ultimately, when we had a lot of our long signals, we played that up to 4,100. That level hit. Now, what did I say from this point? In order to be very bullish to start swinging positions, right? Because lately I haven't been swinging since we had that push. To start swinging, you wanted to hold above 4,100. Unfortunately, you're not seeing that right now. You're actually getting back below 4,000. You're trying to battle it here at the end of the day. If you hold above 4,000, you're just range bound here. If you get below 4,000, I think we could start seeing a push down towards 38, 38.50. But right now, you're still in this range above 4,000. Going into Nasdaq. Again, this has been where a lot of the good trades have really been. Today, I didn't trade Nasdaq just because I was feeling a little bit uneasy about the direction in which we were moving. But we're essentially still holding that 11.8 area. And if we rewind back to Friday to when we dipped, look where you dropped to. You're actually still making a higher low here from Friday when you had that flash drop from the non-farm payrolls, right? You dropped, buyers instantly showed up and pushed you back up. The few things that we need to take from this, though, is what's happening on this dip. And really quick, I always recommend, if you want to get quick information on what's happening with volume and anything in between, Yahoo Finance, I'm not going to lie to you, halfway decent when it comes to looking at some of this information. Today, your volume, lackluster. It has been declining. I want to highlight this, right? You had your Thursday right here, which you saw a little bit of an increase on Friday, but ultimately it's still declining. And it increased on Friday on buying volume. That's the important note to take here. I do assume you're going to get closer to 70 million with volume on the after hours, so I do want to highlight that. So you're not going to end the day at 62. By the time you watch this video, it'll be closer to 70 million. But what does that tell me? You're seeing downside pressure with decreasing selling volume. Now, I do want to highlight you're still trying to hold this 11.8 area. Also, if you flip below 11.8, I do think 11.5 is 100% possible and could come very quick. Literally almost 300 points of downside from that point. We'll highlight that right now. Going into ES, again, you get below 4,000 and hold. I could think you could easily test 39.40. Going in past there, down to 39.10, 39.12. But we're not there yet. It's also worth mentioning you're still very close, in my personal opinion, to that daily 200 moving average. You're only about roughly 40 points away from it. So I do want to make that really clear, but you did get a break, retest, and push back down. So that was very bearish behavior, and that's ultimately why I went short on the day based on that behavior. But everything that I'm doing here, I'm literally making all my trades based on all the content that I'm giving to you on these videos, right? I post the winners, I post the losers, everything in between. If I was lying to you, you would see the comments on Twitter, right? Again, I'm trying to be as transparent as possible here for you guys so you can see that. So you break, retest, and push down. So ultimately right now, I have to anticipate more downside based on what's happening here. I'm not flipping and going against the trend. Why? Because you're back below that 200 daily moving average. Now, if you get back above, then we can talk. But until then, you have to anticipate more downside pressure just based on what's happening. Now, the big thing here too is, do you continue to make these higher lows here on the daily time frame, right? 4-hour daily time frame. That's a big question mark here. And I have to anticipate a little bit that you try, right? But the big question is, can we hold this overall? And as we look at some of these indicators going forward, like I mentioned in yesterday's video, it's timing up a little bit perfect. But before we go any further, I also want to say, between now and essentially Friday, you have nothing going on with the Fed, no key data pulls, nothing like that. You do have PPI on Friday, you have CPI next Tuesday, and you have the Fed meeting next Wednesday. So So those are going to be your 3 big days. But until then, it's considered what we call a blackout because there's nothing really being said. It's just the market moving. So this is very interesting behavior. So I could definitely see us chopping back and forth just like we have been going into these anticipated Fed meetings. So I want to keep my head on a swivel. I want to not overtrade. Lately, it's been 1, maybe 2 trades a day. There's no reason to overextend right now. There's no reason whatsoever. So I want to make sure that's known. In hindsight, though, I do want to check out the Dow also for you. Dow, again, like I'm saying, you're just back at support, right? You broke through this level, came to your next supply, came back down, you're at support. And this is kind of the trend that we're seeing. Again, the only thing, and this is what I told Discord, and I do just want to share this with you guys really quick. This is what I told Discord at the end of the day when I was done trading. I actually ended up cutting my Walmarts. I believe we had more room, but I just cut them just to let them go because I didn't really trust what was happening. But I said, going to tomorrow, I'm optimistic of the upside. Again, the volume on this downturn was not convincing, right? When we started to pivot to the upside, what happened? We had a lot of good volume, right? The only really bearish thing to happen today was the flip of the 200 MA, which I highlighted as you can see there. Done for the day, happy with my gains. There's no reason to overtrade right now. I want to highlight that. You're going to get your big opportunities. It's going to happen. At the end of the day, you're seeing buyers show up a little bit more here. But it's important to know you're going to get your big opportunities and your big move. But there's no reason to, as you're consolidating near supply, as you're making these higher lows, pushing up, there's no reason to rush and jump into positions. Let everything play out. Again, I say this all the time here on the channel, and that's why you see comments down below about people talking about it, because it works out so often. I want to highlight that. This is not to make me sound good or this or that. It's to show that there's proof in what happens here. There's proof in what we're doing here. So when you're looking at this, I want to just really highlight being patient. That's the biggest game changer here right now. And that's the biggest thing that I've been practicing this year specifically, is taking less trades and making sure I'm taking A+ setups. So right now, that's what I want to focus on. On SPY. Looking here, this was pretty interesting also. If we look at what's taking place here, you're still trying to hold these higher lows you're making here. Again, it's pretty vertical. I do want to highlight this is a 4-hour chart, but you're still trying to hold here. What I will say, and I am not biased. I will tell you either way of what we're looking at here, right? If we look here, you broke back below your previous highs, this 402, 403 level, right? It's worth mentioning, but you still, again, are holding these higher lows. When you come down and test, you've been getting pretty decent bounces. It's even worth mentioning if we go to something of like the 15 to 30-minute chart. We'll look at the 15 real quick. You can see that level we had drawn out here. This is about a 15, 30-minute demand level. You gapped right below, retested, and just continue to push back down. This is worth mentioning, right? This is not great behavior. This is not what we wanted to see. And then you kind of stay in a downtrend until basically power hour, and then you start to try to pop out of this level. Worth mentioning, again, not the most bullish behavior. But what I will say is, again, is your volume is lackluster. And again, that's not to say that you can't continue down on low volume. You do not need crazy volume to push up or push down. You don't need it. But what I will say is when you see smaller movements, and that's what this is ultimately, yeah, you got almost a $4 move, about a $4 move to the downside, not the smallest move there is. But what I will say is it's about less than half of the big move that we had with, all that volume. I'm going to just point out here, right? When we've gotten the convincing actual pivots on the market, it's been accompanied by great volume. And right now, we're just not seeing that. So again, right now, as we're looking at ES, before I even let you out here or even go to any stocks, I do want to say you're below that 200 moving average. You are below it. You broke, retested, pushing down. So you have to look at this from a bearish point of view. You have to in the short term. But what I'm going to say right now is I would not be surprised to see chop back and forth here, or at least a retest of that 200 moving average. I'm not going full send into the bearish positions, especially overnight right now. If I'm looking to go bearish into positions, I'm only doing it daily as we go, right? I'm looking to take a day trade, get out of it at the end of the day, move on. Right now, that's me personally. And I did want to also go over what JP Morgan said. Remember, they did say, I posted on my video yesterday and everything I've been telling people, JP Morgan did say they anticipate a retest of lows on the S&P futures. They did say that already. So going into quarter number 1 of this coming year, that's what they anticipate. So right now you're getting a little bit of love, a little bit of bounce, but it's worth mentioning this is where you're at. These are my concerns. And ultimately that's what I'm looking at right now. Now, going a little bit further, what are some stocks that I'm liking? Now, specifically in the XLP sector, this has been my favorite. Consumer staples. They look really interesting. So looking at XLP, specifically like with Walmart, Target, Costco, right? Costco has earnings on Thursday. You came right into supply at 77. We mentioned this, double topped, pushed back down. I really love this sector. I did close my Walmart position. We came right to where I wanted. We made good money. You're kind of bouncing where we expected at previous highs here. You are bouncing. But if you can break below the 150 level, I anticipate some blood here. All right? I anticipate a fill down to 148.5, possibly down towards 147, right? Going a little bit further into some of these other plays, I do want to mention Apple also. And again, this might not be a popular opinion, but if we look at Apple, you came right towards a key level, right? Right towards this big level. I actually had it here on TradingView. I don't know why I didn't have it on here, but if you look, I had this marked out here. It's your 150.6 area. And I actually want to just make sure you can see this really clear. Just get rid of everything else. And you can see where this is. It was your previous swing high right here. It's where you flipped ultimately and started turning into a bear when you found these local lows down here, 1, 2, 3, basically triple bottoming and then pushing back towards the upside. Right there, came right back to that level, rejected, pushing down. I also want to mention though, Apple is trying to hold this level. So when we go back to Apple, I do want to highlight what I'd be looking for here. If you break below this level, right about here, this 145.65 level, I anticipate a push down towards 144 and then ultimately down towards supply, which would be pretty gnarly. I'm not going to lie to you. This would be pretty disgusting if you get that push down here. But I have to highlight this is the overall area that I will be looking for down to 142 to 141 if you start to break below this local level of 145.65. It's worth mentioning when we look at Apple, this is one of the biggest names in the S&P. So if we start to see Apple fall off, it would make sense combined with SPY to get that sell back down towards 390 if possible. Again, I don't ever like to sound like I'm flip-flopping back and forth, but I want to highlight why did we look at the market from a bearish lens today, right? Even though our bias, even though our expectation going into Monday was bullish, why? It's super easy, guys. The 200 moving average. I have to say it because people here are just not going to understand. They're going to flip-flop. They're going to be upset about this or that. But it's clear because we made money on the day. I even posted on Twitter so y'all could catch it also because I knew what would happen here when we came to make the video today. You broke, retest, and push down. The 200 is all you needed to watch. I told everyone on Friday also all about that. So that's what I want to highlight there. Now, if we're looking at what's happening, there's a lot of pretty ugly behavior in between this market as we are looking and going forward. But I want to talk about one more stock before we go any further and before I let you out of here. I want to talk about some of the stocks that I've been mentioning a lot to you guys, right? When we're feeling really confident, I just want to take a step back on the past 2 weeks of trading. What are some of the big stocks I've been talking about? Boeing, you shot up. You held this low. Almost no risk in this trade because you never broke back below 170 basically, and you shot up to target number 185, and you almost got to the 190 level. What about Starbucks? Remember, told you about this one. Looked great, ascending triangle down here when we called it. You broke above, retested, and went straight to supply, right? Big level there. Home Depot. What about this one? Remember our pennant right here at 310? You broke right up into supply, double top, pushed back down, right? I can go on and on. Tesla, right here. We bought down here. Remember, go check this day out if you don't believe me, right? What day was this? This was on November 22nd. Go watch the video I posted on this day. We bought calls down here. Guess what happened? We bought $200 calls for January 20th. Within 2 days, those were up over 80% coming into supply and then ended up running towards 198, right? So I just want to highlight here. When we're very confident, I tell you, right? I tell you as much as possible. It's not about me being right or being wrong or this or that. I'm trying to help you guys as much as possible and give you the best plays possible. But when I'm here, I'm trying to tell y'all, like right now is not the time to swing, right? We had those plays, we had those setups, and guess what? They're gonna come again. We could flip back above the 200 MA tomorrow and really get some good volume. And that could give us a signal, right? But we're going to have the Fed meeting coming up. We're going to have decisions to be made. And that's what's really going to give us those answers. So I just want to urge you guys, be patient. Remember the plays we've taken over the past week and a half. Remember the money. And remember, on January 1st, I'm going to do another account update, go over the gains. I have not made nearly as much as I made basically between October into November. I think I made about 10K the past month and a half on trading. But again, my goal is not to, get rich quick, right? It's to show the process of what we're doing here. So I'll have the update coming early January. I did want to give it a little bit more time, try to grow it a little bit more. Right now it's sitting at around 50.1, up from around 41, 42K. So I'm still sitting good, still sitting pretty. And I'm going to go over all that for you guys. But again, what do you want to take from this right now? Don't be overzealous with some of these trades, guys. Remember where we're at. Have a plan. Follow on Twitter so you can stay prepared also, so you can see all those charts. But guys, keep a level head, have a plan, and make sure you're paying attention to everything in between, and you're not just gambling here. You don't want to just be jumping into trades. I'll see you tomorrow.